thought it was over, I'm just getting started. You thought it was over, I'm just getting started. You thought it was over, I'm just getting started. I'm just getting warmed up, I'm just getting started. You thought it was over, I'm just getting started. Yeah, I'm just getting warmed up, I'm just getting started. It ain't over till it's over, I'm just getting started.
Hello everybody! In today's video I'm going to explain two feats and boss mechanics in Clock Tower Elite from Birds of Prey DLC. Before I begin to explain, I want to add that this content is clamped, but you shouldn't be afraid to go for it as it's completely doable with the right group. The feats we did are called Untrapped Resources and Repulsed Bots Elite. Untrapped Resources feat is related to the drones in the hallways between bosses, and it requires the utmost attention and focus from everybody in the group. As you can see in the video, while we're in the first hallway, there are no drones. However, once we break the big door, they will be in the next hallway. The feat is to not touch or come near any of the drones. You gotta be careful when you move between them because they got a big range, and if you end up being too close, they will activate by turning red, and once that happens, the feat will be gone, so you will have to rekey. There are two types of drones. One of them is fixed, which means that they are stuck in place, and the other type are mobile. They always have a pattern moving back and forth, so before you go into the next hallway or room, just scan the room quickly and figure out what is the safe route you need to go through. There are some precautions that you need to consider. First, you gotta be very patient, which means that you can't rush throughout the hallways. You must take your time walking slowly, one by one, so you don't body block each other. Also, don't use your movement mode while you're going through the hallways. Another thing that helps is having no pets around, as they can end up being in the way. Some say that they can activate the drones, but we've tested it and they do not interfere. As we proceed, you will notice that sometimes the tank will move on his own while the rest of the group waits in the cubby for him to pull the adds and come back with them to the group. The tank has to be careful when they're pulling the adds, as they might end up being pulled or knocked back to a drone. And if the whole group moves towards the adds, it gives a higher chance of having someone mess up the feat by the exact same thing. At some point, you will notice in the video that the whole group stayed in a cubby while the tank went to the first boss, starting the cutscene. We always find doing that helpful, as it ends up teleporting the rest of the group to the first boss room without having to deal with the drones in the next hallway. If you end up being further away from the cubby point shown in the video, you might not get pulled into the cutscene, and when that happens, you will have to walk through all those drones to get to your group. Now onto the first boss fight. As you can see, the group setup we had was one tank, one healer, one troll, and 5 DPSs. Some groups might run 2 tanks with 1 healer, or 2 heals with 1 tank, or 2 tanks and 2 healers, and it all depends on what you're comfortable with. Wiping on this boss can be quite annoying if you're going for the feat, as it will send you all the way back to the beginning of the raid, where you will have to go through all the hallways with the drones again. At the beginning of the fight, you will have 2 bosses, Black Canary and the Huntress if you're a villain, and Poison Ivy and Catwoman if you're a hero. And as a tank, you need to separate them, because if they're close, they will give each other a defense buff, which will drastically slow down the burn. The group needs to keep their distance from the bosses, as Canary has a sonic cry that can one-shot players, and also Huntress spawns a drone beside her that might target you and one-shot you as well. The group also has to focus on burning only one of the bosses until it is down to 20 or 30% of their health, then switch to burn the other boss. While you're burning down the bosses, they will gain a red aura around them, and a red text will show up on the screen saying that they are enraged, which means that you need to bring both of them close to each other. In our case, Huntress doesn't really follow the tank, but Black Canary will. So as a tank, you need to move Black Canary to Huntress. This mechanic will happen around 4 times during the fight, but the tank has to act quickly upon seeing the text. The other mechanic is that around 50% of the first boss health, your allies, in our case were Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Harley Quinn, get overzealous, which means their attacks will damage you as well. Poison Ivy has a skull that might one-shot you if you're close enough to her. Harley will do a doom spin with the hammer. It's not a one-shot, but it can knock you back. She will also slam the hammer on the ground, stunning players, which can be quite annoying sometimes. Catwoman is the most dangerous of them. She has a skull, which after she will do a whiplash attack directed towards the bosses, so if you're a tank and you don't move away from the boss or block it, you will die. She will also throw catnips on the ground, which will damage and slow down players. After you get the first boss down to around 20%, you will switch to the second boss when it's around 60 to 50% of their health, and 2 types of drones will start spawning in the room. Discharge drones and trap drones similar to the ones in the hallways, but don't worry about activating them in the boss fight because it won't ruin your feat. Having 1 or 2 head augments leveled up to 23 will help you deactivate the trap drones as they can be annoying with stunning and taking away your powers. The discharge drones are the highest priority, and the reason is that they will start putting green arrows on players, meaning they will spawn an electrical arc under them in a few seconds. The players with the arrows need to go to the corner or near the wall away from the rest of the group till the arc is on the ground, then go back to their row. The group needs to focus on killing these drones, otherwise the whole room will get filled with arcs, which can cause a wipe. But once the drones are dead, you can go back to burning the bosses. The last mechanic for this fight is that you need to burn both bosses evenly. As soon as one of them is down, you need to kill the other one relatively quickly, otherwise the knockdown boss will revive itself with around 50% health, making the fight longer. After the first boss, you will once again have drones in the hallways, but their pattern will be more complex than the ones in the beginning. The tank will have to pull the adds back to the safe area for the rest of the group most of the time. Maybe even at some point you might decide to not take the whole group with you to the end and just take the necessary rows to reduce the possibility of failing the feat and requeuing the raid again. After all the hallways, you will reach the server's room in where there will be symbols on the screens. Every member will be assigned with a certain number with symbols they need to memorize and know the location of, as they need to be quick to get these symbols and of course get them right. Once you press the cog in the middle, you get adds, and the tank will have to pull them away from the group as they don't need to be killed since they will only respawn. Symbols will show up on the screen in the middle of the room, and the players will have to press the cog which has the symbol matching the screen in the middle. Failing to get the symbols in time or clicking the wrong symbol will fail the sequence and spawn more adds, and if that happens you have to start from the beginning with all 6 symbols again. After the server's room, you're going to the last boss fight, and if you have left couple members in the back, all you have to do is start the fight and wipe. That way the drones disappear and the rest of the group members will be able to catch up without having to worry about them. The only thing standing between you and getting the Untrapped resources feat is beating the last boss. Now onto the mechanics of it. In the beginning of the fight, you will have to spread out evenly across the room. Everybody will be assigned a spot which they are not supposed to move from. The only player who will be standing in the middle of the room will be the tank. Everybody else will be standing near the wall. Preferably, the healers will be standing in the corners, all the way up to the room, to the left and to the right, and the troll will be standing on the door. Having everyone with 223 head augments will help you survive during the fight, as Oracle will be putting very high damage over time, and you might die because of it if you're not quickly healed. Having the 223 head augment stops the damage. The first mechanic of the boss is her skull attack that will pull everyone towards her. Everybody in the group should be blocking. The pull itself doesn't do that much damage, but pulling you in the middle will be deadly, as I will explain the rest of the mechanics. The second mechanic, and the most important one of them, happens once you burn her a bit. She will give every member of the group colors. It's either red or blue, which means if you're red you can't stand or be close to a blue person and vice versa. However, you can stand close to someone with the same color, but it's not recommended as your color might change all of a sudden and wipe the whole group. At some point, Oracle will put her hand in the air, and there will be white beams coming out of her hand to every group member, which will be the indicator that you will get pulls under your feet. Standing in opposite color pools will have the same effect as standing close to someone with the opposite color, doing a big AoE damage to the group, which will end up wiping the group. So the way to deal with this, as I already said, is to stand on the spot you've been assigned to, and usually it's good to stop doing anything and just block until the pool appears under you, as she can do the skull attack and pull you towards the middle where you can spawn the puddle and kill everyone. Once you see the pool on the ground, you need to move to the right of it, but also keep your distance from the rest of the group members. Shortly after, Oracle will do the same mechanic, repeating all over again, and this time you will put your pools on the right and move back to your original spot that you put your first puddle at. Even if the first pool didn't disappear just yet, you can still step into it and it will be gone soon without killing the rest of the group. For the tank, it is a little bit different to move with the puddles. They will move from all the way up in the room between the monitors and the middle of the room. As a tank, you need to be running immunity because Oracle will point at a random person in the group. That person will be pulled towards the boss. The animation is relatively quick and sometimes can be hardly seen by the rest of the group with all the chaos in the room. So the tank must pop his immunity whenever she points, otherwise that person will be pulled and can cause a wipe due to the different colors of the group members or stepping into a different puddle with a different color. If a group member is dead and can't get up, they should flee as they will still have the collar on them. Once they're out, there will be more space for the rest of the group. In some cases, it's better to not do this fight with a full 8-man group for the same reason, to give more space for the rest of the group in case someone keeps causing wipes due to not being able to follow the instructions or mechanics. The last mechanic is the Repulsed bots. When Oracle is around 40% of her health, 2 Repulsed bots will spawn in the room. They got 3 spawning spots, either to the left, right, or in front of the entrance door. The spawn will always be 2 out of those 3 spots, but it can change between these 3 spots every time you wipe. One of the bots can be pulled immediately by the tank or stunned by the troll. The other bot will have 2 shielding drones protecting it from being interrupted or pulled. The only DPSs that must do damage to the drones are the ones near them. Preferably they can use their orbitals and supercharges to burn them as soon as possible, as they can do high damage to cause the group to wipe. While the DPSs are taking down the drones, the tank must make sure to interrupt the bot without the shield by lunging it, using a juggle, pulling it, or using emitters, till the shielding drones are dead, and then the tank will have to pull the second bot, constantly interrupting both of them for the rest of the fight while doing all the other mechanics. Now I'm gonna talk about the second feat. The name of it is Repulsed Bots Elite, and all you gotta do for it is to not kill the bots. So all the DPSs will need to go single target, focusing the boss while being careful with the line of sight. Even if you aren't going for the feat as a DPS, you should be only focusing on the boss, as killing the bots will cause them to respawn, which may cause extra chaos in the room and in worst case, a wipe. If you want to make sure you don't kill the bots before the boss dies, or the tank can't handle doing the mechanics while interrupting them, you can either run with a second tank who pull the bots to him and just focus on interrupting them, or you can have a troll stunning them along with the tank. I hope I managed to explain everything, and most importantly, I hope that one day this video helps somebody in need. Thank you for watching.